Hello, everyone. I welcome you all in another amazing podcast. And today I have here with me Faten El Ayache. Hello, how are you?
Hi, Muaaz. I'm good, thanks. And you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for giving us time to share your experiences.
My pleasure.
Okay, so Ms. Faten is basically she's a life coach, and I've invited her to talk about self love and self talk. We'll start with the introduction. So, up to you. Kindly introduce yourself, and then we'll just begin.
Yes, sure. So thanks for this invitation, Muhammad. And yes, I am a life coach currently. Before that, I am a pharmacist. I worked in pharmaceutical sales for quite some time, and then I moved to what is more important to me, the impact that I want to make in the world, and that was through working with students in university, in higher education, and as a career consultant. And then after that, I went on to my life coaching journey. I'm an NLP practitioner and a trainer. I'm working on my master's on positive psychology and coaching psychology right now. And definitely, I'm very passionate about coaching.
Oh wow! So that's a diverse experience, and glad to know you're also practicing NLP and like
Yes,
you're pursuing a positive psychology. So it's a lethal combination of multiple techniques. Wow!
yes,
So looking forward to learning a lot from you. We'll start with the basics of like what is self love.
yeah. So basically, self-love is as the name says, it is loving yourself. It's not loving yourself more than others. It's not loving yourself after loving others. It's not loving yourself before anyone else. It's just loving yourself. And that, if you want to know what, like, to go deep into it, I see is um, uh, just like um, setting boundaries, respecting and honoring yourself. That's how I define someone who loves themselves, someone who respects themselves, someone who honors themselves and sets boundaries and says no when they want to say no, and just respect and honor themselves.
Okay. So is it like loving your own self is selfishness or not?
Mm. Yes, no. Self love is not selfish. So, definitely, as I said, if I respected myself, if I put a boundary, if I honored myself, I'm not being selfish. Selfishness is defined, if you just Google it, you will see that it's defined as someone who is just not caring to anyone else around them. So, they're just caring for themselves. But when we are respecting ourselves, it's totally different than being selfish. I care for all others, but it's just that I am filling my cup first before filling any other cup, because that's the way it is. In the aviation industry, every time we go on an airplane, they say put your mask first before doing anything else, and that's exactly what self-love is put your oxygen mask first so that you can love others and help others and be there.
Yeah, it's like fulfilling your or regaining your energy so that you can give energy to others. First
Absolutely,
you become a powerhouse of love, and then you can spread love in the society. So it's
absolutely.
again putting yourself. But I found there is one stigma or just a judgment people usually make that the person who limits and who sets boundaries that I value myself, I respect myself, these things and these actions, these people, they are the people or the circumstances where I don't got that much appreciation, I don't got not that much self love, that much amount of love. So basically I'm gonna I'm gonna skip those people, I'm gonna skip those uh, boundaries or like everything. So is people tag those people usually as the person is arrogant, And the person who is like in a self transformation journey, and he or she wants to take care of his or own self, and he want to practice self love. It's commonly, like, I've noticed that people tag them as, hey, you're arrogant, you don't talk to that much people. Hey, we are inviting you to the parties, we want you to be happy. and and you're so arrogant enough that you're skipping our invitation.
Yeah.
So that's one of
I'm,
the common.
yeah, there's definitely a stigma around that, that, as you said early on, like self-love is thought that it is selfish. But I see it as, again, there's nothing about any others, it's just loving yourself. When arrogance comes, that's a totally different thing. I believe with those people who say that you're arrogant just because you're taking care of yourself. I fully believe, and I've seen that with so many of my clients, that people who say this are usually kind of so much wanting to live your life, because you are knowing how to set boundaries, you are knowing how to honor yourself, but they are not knowing. So they want to pull you down, and that's their way. So this shows that there comes some kind of insecurity in there, and that's why they want to pull you down by saying you are arrogant. I I don't see it as arrogance. I I
Yeah.
I I was raised and to think that self-love is selfish. And actually, I wrote an article about that because um, that's how I saw myself. My mom was someone who is very giving, and when I starting my journey, and I had kids, and I started asking and questioning myself, like, how come my mom doesn't feel tired and I'm now getting tired? And then I started falling down, and I realized if I didn't take care of myself, then my kids will suffer. That's why I realized how important it is for me to put my oxygen mask on and to be a more loving mom, because I'm caring for myself. Not my mom, I see her the most loving person in the world, but that's how she was. She was again raised. I'm breaking the stigma here, and I'm encouraging everyone, men and women, to do the same, because again, no one can give from an empty cup. As easy as that sounds.
Wow, that's pretty much simplest. You summarized it quite well. I believe it to be true, 100% true. And for me, it's like, you are the one who take care of yourself first.
Yeah.
I've talked about it a lot, and within the recent discussions. So, and I always support this proposition that if no matter if there is not even a single person there for you, you are gonna there for yourself to take care, and to love your own self and to accept yourself with all the weaknesses and the negatives about you. So first you accept yourself, and you admire that, hey,
Yeah.
no matter what happens, I'm gonna take care of myself, and I'll rise and shine, no matter what the
Yes.
circumstances are.
And I've spotted one word which you said, which I definitely don't agree with you on, which is weaknesses. I don't
Yeah.
agree.
Okay.
I
It's
don't agree
it's
that anyone has weaknesses. It's always
okay.
areas for development. So
Okay.
let's talk about that. Yeah.
Sure. I'm gonna rephrase it because I exactly learned that recently, we will call it a challenge. So challenge is good word,
Yeah.
you
Or
know.
an area for
Uh,
development. Yeah.
True, true that. I appreciate it. So the self love thing, ultimately, if I keep it a bit forward, and so it requires, a person requires his or her own help, a lot help. Like, you are gonna have should you need to be present every time for your own self.
Because we
At
are, yeah, sorry to interrupt you, because we
no,
are creative, resourceful, and whole. And that's the three pillars or the basis of what life coaching beliefs are. we are, or NLP as well, the beliefs of excellence, we are resourceful, we are creative, and we are whole. And correct me if I'm wrong, I always give this example, how many times we face a problem and we say like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. But then you realize how creative and resourceful you are, and you do it, and you get out of it. So
True.
that's why like counting on ourselves is it's essential, not only important, because we are creative, we are resourceful, and we are whole.
Yeah, you just mentioned a part of that metaphysics thing, like, I'm a part of whole, and I'm a whole,
Yes,
in my own self. Every cell of my body is in itself is a whole universe, and together
absolutely.
I'm a part of a universe. So ultimately, universe has bestowed me with a lot of resources. Maybe I haven't been aware about, I haven't tapped into my personality, so I'm not aware about myself that, hey, this can be done. And ultimately, if I see back to the entire journey of life, I see there would be many things from early childhood till now that with just guidance of other people, that's where the role of life coaches comes in, that they're there for to connect the dots, and to guide the piece, and to like gather up some of the missing like pieces of the puzzle. But ultimately, it's the person who himself or herself like strategize and plan, and think of the solution, and make use his or her own resources, and to come up with a solution to any issue.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And so this brings me to the other part of the discussion, that is self talk.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, a person who loves him or her himself, if I'm gonna take care of myself, ultimately I'm gonna talk to my own self first.
Yeah,
So what's your idea about this self talk?
actually, many people don't recognize that the most people we talk to is ourselves. So if we didn't talk to ourselves in a positive way, all what's registered here in our computer is that we are a negative, or whatever we registered. So just before that, though, before the self-talk thing, I wanted to differentiate between the self-love and the self-care,
Okay.
because some people don't know how to differentiate this. I see in my coaching sessions. When
Sure.
you eat healthy, when you take care of your body, when you sleep well, when you just exercise, when you book a massage session, go to the spa or whatever, you are taking care of yourself, you are taking care of your body, and that's what your body owes you. So it's not that I should congratulate you for doing this. Your body owes it to you, to take care for yourself. It's not like
True.
when we stop on a red light, on a traffic light, we don't congratulate ourselves for stopping at the red lights, for stopping at the red
Yeah.
light. It's it's essential to stop at the red light. And definitely the same applies when we, like, some clients would say, yeah, I love myself. I go to the gym, I exercise, I eat healthy. That's not
No,
what
no,
it
no.
is. So there's a big differentiation between that. Going to the self care or the self talk, as I said, we are the most people we talk to, and it's important that we talk to ourselves in a very positive way, because the moment we talk negatively to ourselves, which means the negative thoughts are going up here, we are registering that we are weak, we are a failure, um, and all of this negative talk. Like, I really don't like to even mention it, because all I envision when I'm saying this to myself is that I'm beating myself up, and there's my whole body is like bruised with blue colors, because I am being very harsh on myself. So Self-talk has to be positive, has to be taken care of, because we talk to ourselves the most.
Yep, true that, true that. And like this is something that's most important in the recent times, ultimately, but because usually people are, people are anxious. And what happens is that, people get themselves into overthinking.
Mhm.
So they tend to overthink about situation that hasn't even happened yet, and they're
Yeah,
just overthinking about what could happen, and they like just overthink and put themselves into so much pressure that ultimately they create a hype of what situation could be,
yeah.
and that's where the self talk becomes a bit negative.
Yeah, so with the overthinking, we usually overthink when we are thinking about the past or thinking about the future. If we are just in the now, we wouldn't definitely be um, except enjoying the moment. And that's why it's important to just live the moment, because what's in the past is something that we cannot control, and what's in the future is something we cannot control. The only thing we can control is now, and that's how we can control our overthinking or our self-talk and transform it into a positive one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And just from the last sentence, what are some of the techniques you would mention that, how can a person transform the negative self-talk into, a bit
Yeah.
positive and healthier
Yeah.
self-talk?
Yeah. So most of the negative self-talk would be unrealistic. Actually, it's all unrealistic, not most. Because when we say, I'm not good enough, or I'm always late, or I'm never going to do this, or to pass this exam, these always and never and I'm not good enough, it's like um, the first thing I would say, like, seriously, never, never, like always,
Hmm.
you're always
Yeah.
late. And then people would take a step back and think, like, no. So we tend to exaggerate things in a way to beat ourselves up. Like I'm always, if I'm never going to pass this exam,
Yep.
I am a failure. So this is an identity, you know. I am means it's my identity. So when I'm linking the identity to a behavior that has been done and generalizing it and saying always and never, that's the first point where we stop at. So instead of saying I am a failure, I'll say I failed in this project, for example. So I give myself permission to be human, to fail,
Yep. Yep.
because there's no failure, there's only feedback. And that's another belief of excellence. There's no
Yep.
failure, there's always learning, there's always feedback.
Feedback.
So, yeah. So that's the first point, is try to uh, get a proof of of the wrong saying of that word, like I'm never going to make it, or I'm
Yep.
not good enough. Like,
Yep. Yep.
just stop there. And then try to look at it from a different perspective and see, what is this trying to teach me? So the moment we move from this is happening to me to
Hmm.
move to this is happening for me,
Hmm.
that's when we start learning. So first we stop and say, where's the proof of this is not right? And then try to look at it from a different perspective. And the way to look at it from a different perspective is to see, what is it trying to teach me? What is this situation trying to teach me? Because God is good and God always sends us good things. So everything happens for an excellent reason, not only for a good reason. So look from the other perspective, what can I learn here? And then you will be surprised how many things, when you sit down and pause and reflect, you will say, like, wow, I'm thankful this happened because I learned this and this.
Yeah, true that.
Yeah,
And like the first point that you mentioned was what language patterns. That's one of the
yeah,
common techniques that we learned, there in NLP. And
yes,
this reminds me, those negative jargons reminds our unconscious that you are so much negative, and
yeah,
ultimately you are drowning your own self, based on reminding your unconscious that, hey, on these bases you are negative. So
yeah,
ultimately you cannot outperform, or you cannot excel. And
absolutely.
if we just avoid those, ultimately by bringing in some positive good jargons in our daily life, ultimately we can push ourselves to a higher excellence, for sure.
Definitely, definitely. And this is also proven by science. The value of this self-talk. If I keep on telling myself, I cannot do it, I cannot do it, I cannot do it, directly there was a test where students were in a university, and the professor tested this experiment on them. They had to like pull her hand or his hand. I don't know, remember very well now, but uh, the moment that she was saying, I cannot do it, it was so easy for them to pull her hand down. But then when she said, I will do it, I can do it, I can do it, no one could defy her. So this shows
Yeah,
how important, because everything is registered here in the computer. So if I'm saying
true that.
I cannot do it, or oh my God, what can I do now? The computer is registering now. She is weak. She is weak. She is weak. She is weak. You know,
True
so
that.
so it's what we put in, and we always have a choice. We always have a choice on how to look at things. And I always give this example for this farmer who had a very big fertile land, and he had a choice to plant it. So he thought, if I plant it with corn, because it's a big and fertile land, I'll get more and more corn. And if he chose to plant it with poison, because it's a big fertile land, he will get more and more
Mm,
poison. And this
true.
mind we have, I can assure you, is much more fertile than any land we could think of. So if we chose to plant
Agreed.
it with positive things, all the positive things will happen. If I keep on telling myself, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, trust me, we will find ways to do it, and it would be amazing. And if I choose to plant it all the negative stuff, then
Yeah,
I'll get all the negative things out. So I am weak, I cannot do it, I'm not good enough, I cannot handle it. Like the most common limiting belief is I cannot handle it. And
yeah,
we've all, like every single person on this planet has some pain in his life or her life. And
yeah,
if we keep on thinking that we cannot handle it, then we will all be dead by now. So
yeah,
we are handling it. We handled it
yeah,
in the past, and we continue to handle everything. So that's a big limiting belief. It's a big lie that we can say that we say I cannot handle it. And one of the questions that I tell my clients about, to ask themselves, like, what's the worst that could happen? And the answer will always be, I can handle it. So
yes,
let's drop
yes,
this, I cannot handle it.
yes.
Yeah.
Agreed to that. Agreed to that.
And at
That's
the
pretty
same
much.
time,
Yep, yep,
and at the same
yep.
time, because talking about this plants or the garden, you know, if you plant a beautiful garden with lots of flowers, amazing flowers, and you left it, there are weeds that will go and maybe affect the flowers, you know. So it's very important to keep on removing those negative thoughts or the weeds from our garden, or else it will be damaged. And that's what a good farmer does. He keeps on taking care of his garden and removing the bad plants so that they don't affect the good plants. So always keep on removing. And we are always a work in progress, and we always want to remove those negative thoughts and plant more positive ones.
Agree to that. It's I believe you combined it so well to the self-talk thing to ultimately to the self-love thing.
Yeah,
Ultimately, if I'm talking positively to my own self, I'm connecting and I'm caring about myself. It's more than just care. It's about self-love that I'm showing. So, like that's some wonderful conversation here we just had with you. And based on your experience and your NLP and your coaching experience, you just shared some really good insights, how to handle this self-love thing and how to practice the positive self-talk thing. uh, thank you so much for your time. And
sure.
if you have some last word or some summary, that will be great to have.
I just want to thank you again for inviting me for this. I love this topic. I'm a full advocate for people who go and love themselves and put their oxygen masks first, and to watch how we are talking to ourselves. Because, as I told you, uh, this is the most important thing we can do to ourselves, is to be kind and to be compassionate and to give permission to ourselves to be just human.
Awesome. I
Yeah,
appreciate your time once again. I hope my audience would have learned a lot and enjoyed this conversation. And I till the next podcast, I say you all a very good bye bye.
take care. Bye bye.